basis, generally speaking, rather than 3, 4, 5, 10% growth, or these type of growth rates that are possible under a fiat system but unsustainable. So there's arguments both ways, and I have to be intellectually honest here, and I was going to say I don't really want to do it, but I do. I have to do it. In theory, and I want to emphasize the word theory, you could be on a pure paper standard and have an honest monetary system. It doesn't have to be backed by gold. Now, the way that would work is you'd have a piece of paper that represented real good or real labor and no more than that. In other words, you wouldn't be able to print up one piece of paper more than what the physical economy was producing. The problem is it never works, and that's why gold comes in, or silver, or both, because they're so important as a policeman on the currency, which is what happened during the closing of the gold window. France said, you know what, you're lying. We think, and of course they didn't say that, but they said, if these pieces of paper that represent gold are good as gold, we'll take the gold. If they're as good as gold, we'll take the gold. You keep the paper. Game over. And that's why just a pure paper system has never held the test of time, because human nature really doesn't change over time.
How does silver relate to the Standard & Poor's Index? What is your translation of that relationship, or is there?
It's been a while since I looked at it. Basically, silver is more of a good time metal than gold. There is an 84% correspondence. So anyone says that, they're totally opposite, or, they're not very well correlated. An 84% correlation is a very high correlation. So, if you're a big gold bug and you think gold is going higher, then there's an 84% chance silver will as well. So let me get that done first. But looking at it as a quote-unquote industrial metal, or both, money and industrial metal, usually silver does well during boom times because there's more industry, there's more things going on. And let's face it, we are in the electronic age.
Indeed.
Every doodad gizmo or what have you has got some amount of silver in it, from your iPod to your cell phone, your laptop computer, to your flat-screen TV, to your rear window defogger in your automobile, to the steering wheels in Japanese cars to kill bacteria, to on and on. I mean, there are so many uses of silver: brazing, mirrors, nuclear reactors, tinted windows, medicine, clothing.
Colloidal silver.
Just goes on and on and on. I mean, it's one of the big ones is water purification. I mean, there's so many applications for silver. In fact, I'm fond of saying this. I haven't done a radio show in a long time, but it's one of my favorites, and that is, on an annual basis, there's more patents given out for silver than all the other metals combined.
Are you serious? Why?
Serious.
Because of the applications?
You bet.
How do you patent silver? You mean for devices? You're talking about devices, right?
Patent an element. No,
okay, I was going to say. But you know what?
Patent a water purifier that uses silver at the municipal level that takes out using chlorine as an example. I mean, who wants to drink chlorine? I mean, you use it to kill bacteria, and I understand that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. What I'm saying is that chlorinated water has still got a little bit of poison in it, right? But if you purify with silver, you don't have any poison.
By the way, I do have some bad news for you about something you just said, which I disagree with you, and that is, unfortunately, in our lifetime, there are companies like Monsanto who are patenting the molecular structure of seeds. As frightening as that is, and I'm not trying to get into that, but I want you to know that, unfortunately, for all of us, patents are happening elementally. I mean,
no, that's true.
I mean, if you can do it at a molecular structure, I guess you can do it with an element. So stay on your toes.
I am very aware that one of my past, the little bit of free time that I do have, is usually based in front of a movie screen somewhere, usually watching a documentary, and I have watched that one, and it is very, very upsetting.
Yeah. Did you know that pennies are not made with copper anymore? They're made with zinc alloy? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, I knew that. I mean, it's inevitable. Most of the stuff you can predict if you study history, because when it, costs the government 3 cents to make a penny. Well, okay. What are we going to do? Well, wait till we make them out of plastic. They'll probably away with the penny. Look, let me digress there for a second.
And then I want to talk to you, when you're done digressing, I want to talk to you about short positions that distort bullion and share prices. It's a very painful part of the metals industry, but we need to talk about it when you're done.
You bet. Going back into my youth, we used to live in San Diego County, and we go into Mexico fairly frequently. And I remember as a kid going in there and seeing these little dishes of coins, and they were the centavos, they're pennies. And even, of course, I've always been interested in this stuff, as you know. And I thought, wow, how sad that their money is so debased, it's so valueless, that they actually put a tray out there at these storekeepers' places near the cash register that you can pick up a few centavos to make the correct change. Well, you see that all over the U.S. now, don't you?
It's pretty sad what's happening.
It really is. I mean, I want to get back on, I will answer your question about short positions, but the best systems in the world are actually a bimetallic system. And I don't have time to go into that, and I really don't want to discuss it on your show this time, but a bimetallic system, or actually a trimetallic system, works the best, where you have copper, silver, and gold in that order. So many coppers equal one silver, and so many silvers equal one gold, and the market determines the correct ratio. That's your most solid system that's ever been proposed on the planet. Now, whether we'll ever get back to that or not, I doubt it. But I just want to be historically accurate so people know, because I'm not a huge advocate of the gold-only standard. A lot of my friends don't like it when I say that, but the fact is, once you go to a gold-only standard like we were supposedly on up until 1971, it's real easy for the bankers to go to the next step and go from gold only to paper only. Whereas if you're on a trimetallic or bimetallic standard, it's much more difficult for them.
That's interesting. I have one question before we get to short positions that I forgot to ask you. In your book, you spoke to the fact that you don't accept, I don't know exactly how you said it, but you said basically when people are concerned that if we get on a metals system for doing business and using metals as money, that there's this concern that we'll run out of the metal. I have that legitimate concern, and a lot of people do. Do you accept that there's a limited or an unlimited supply of metal? And how do we address that question that I had, that many people have, about the same thing?
Well, it's the value of it. It's not the quantity of it. I mean, there's a limit to everything. Let's face it, the planet Earth is only so big. So there's only so much water, so many trees, so much lumber, so much agriculture that can be grown. There's a limit to everything if you're in a fixed space, and we are. So why wouldn't there be a fixed money supply? I mean, how many people can the planet hold? No tree grows to the moon. There's a limit on everything. But the point is the value, especially in today's electronic world. I mean, gold money is a perfect example. I mean, whether you have to pay 1 ounce of gold for a loaf of bread or 0.0000001 ounce for a loaf of bread, which is closer to the price, it matters little as long as it's an honest system where you could debit out of your account the physical gold or make a bookkeeping entry that transfers that amount of gold from one account to the next. So you could be, especially in today's electronic world, on a total bimetallic or one metallic system and transfer it. And it's not a function of not having enough gold or having enough silver. It's a function of pricing things accurately.
Well, yeah, and we're usually used to pricing everything in the context of metals with the reserve currency in mind. But if the reserve currency is gone, how are we basing prices? On what? On weights and measures. We're making it up then.
Yeah, absolutely. The market will determine it. I mean, let's give an example. First of all, one of the big arguments there is, well, you can't eat gold. Granted, you can't. But eating paper, eating $10 bills doesn't taste very good either.
And how about a $1 bill with pyramids on it? I couldn't eat that.
Yeah. So let's take a thought experiment here. I live in Washington State, as most people know, and the Palouse is south of me, quite a distance, but great amount of wheat is growing there. So let's just do a thought experiment and say, okay, the money system blows apart, and people don't want to accept paper money. But what are you going to do with all that gold? You can't eat it. Well, I could go to that farmer and I could say, Mr. Farmer, you got a wheat problem. You've got 500 acres of wheat. You certainly can't eat it to all your family. All your neighbors grow wheat, so you can't really sell it to them. So here's my proposal. I'll give you these, 3 gold coins for X bushels of wheat. Will you accept it or not? And chances are he would gladly take gold or silver or both for wheat because it's recognizable money, has been for 5,000 years. Now let's put ourselves in the farmer's position. What else could he do? Well, he could take a big screen TV, or another car, or someone could barter anything with him, right? But the chances are, when push comes to shove, he'd be much more open-minded to gold or silver because he